Okay, so we have created a local repository, and I went ahead and I created a file called git.text. So if I show you that, it's going to contain some directions on doing all of this. And I'm ready to push this back up to GitHub so that GitHub has a copy of this file. So the first time I do this, I'm just going to do git push origin main. And origin is just the name for that URL. So the github.com/whatever, that's what origin is. And to view that, you can always do a git remote -v, and it'll tell you where origin is pointing to in case you have different repositories on GitHub. So I'm going to do a git push up to origin, my main branch. And when we go back to GitHub, I can refresh my screen and you'll see this git text right here. And you can see the two lines. Okay, so now I want to talk about the workflow. So the workflow is like this. Once you have your repo set up on GitHub and you have your local repo, this is kind of the flow that happens. So on our local machine down here, we're going to have our main branch. And then whenever we want to make changes to any of these files, we're going to create a different local branch, make those changes, push those changes up to GitHub on a remote branch, and then we're going to pull or issue what's called a pull request or a PR to pull those changes into the remote main repo. And then from our local machine, we're going to pull all of those changes down because other developers may be working on this remote repo as well, right? And so if they are making pull requests into the remote main, you want to make sure that you are getting those down onto your local main. So again, we have our local main and our GitHub main, but we're going to be doing all of our work on a branch. When we're ready to make a push, we'll push that up to GitHub, we'll issue a pull request which says, hey, can you pull those changes into the main branch on GitHub? And then I'll sync up those changes back on my local machine. So let's go ahead and check out a branch. So git checkout. I'm just going to call this the test branch. Okay, and if I do a git branch, whoops, you can see I'm on my test branch, and if I do a git status, nothing to do. So I'm continually doing git status just to make sure, you know, what the status is of my repo. So I'm going to go ahead and edit that file. Let's see. So we create the repo on GitHub. We clone it to the local machine. We check out a branch to make changes, and then we will push the branch up to GitHub. Okay, and I can look at that just to make sure the changes were made. Now I'm going to do a git status, and it says, you know, I made some changes. So I'll git add those and git commit added lines 3 and 4. Okay, and then I'm ready to go ahead and push those changes up to GitHub. So I'm going to do a git push origin, right? But I want it to go to my branch, and so my branch name is test branch. And so we're back on GitHub, and I'll go to the project, and you can see that test branch had some pushes. And so if I look at the git text, the changes are not there, right? Because this is my main branch, but I can go look at the test branch and you can see the two changes. So you don't want to push directly to main. You always want to push to a branch so that you can kind of look at the changes and then approve them. And that's what we're going to be doing with a pull request. So to issue the pull request, I'll go back to my main page and then I'm going to click the green button, compare and pull request. And I can say, okay, that looks good. Please merge my changes. I added lines 3 and 4. So just let the team know what you did. Okay, and then you're going to create your pull request. And then usually you'll have someone else on the team merge the pull request. So the person will get a notification, you'll probably get an email notification that a pull request is being issued. You'll go look at it. Okay, there's no conflicts, everything looks great. Okay, no conflicts, will approve the merge. Okay, and then I will hit merge the pull request. And then just to make sure, they're going to ask you again, so confirm the merge. And the pull request was successful. So then I can go back to my main page and you can still see I have 2 branches and I want to get rid of that other branch now, and I can go ahead and look and you can see that the merge has been made. So I'll go back here, and if I click on the 2 branches, I can look at this branch and I can say, okay, I've done that, I'm going to remove it. So I hit the little green or the red trash can, I go back and you can see I only have 1 branch left. So now we're ready to pull the most recent main repository on GitHub down to our local machine. We want to make sure it all syncs up. So I'll do a git branch. We're still on the test branch, so I'll git checkout main and git status. So we are all good, but there have been changes up on GitHub. So you always want to kind of make sure that you're pulling down changes every once in a while and keeping an eye and communicating with your team. That's the most important thing, is to make sure you're communicating with your team that, hey, we just merged a big change on GitHub, you need to pull it down. So to do that, I'm going to issue a git pull origin main. Okay, and then I'll do a git status and everything's good. So if I look at that file, and you can see that it's current. And then I want to go ahead and delete that old branch because I don't want to be working off of that any longer. So I'll issue a git branch -d and then the test branch, the name of the branch. And then if I do a git branch, you can see I only have the 1 branch. So that's the main workflow. And if you aren't communicating well with your teams, there is something called a merge conflict that can happen, and we will go over that in the next video.